Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We're live in the spaces. Accept and speak. Request sent. Mic off. Mic on. Good morning.
What's up, Banana?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, man?
Better day. Working a little bit this morning.
Yeah. So were the guys happy yesterday when they came in? Were they a little more jovial, or was it kind of a normal day after all?
Yeah, they're a little bit more normal than I thought.
Okay. That's fair.
But I definitely think they're liking the 3-day weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Man, I haven't had a 3-day weekend in man. I don't, when you own your own business, you work practically every day. Every day. I don't get a day off. And that's okay. I'm good with it.
One of my guys had to go in today, and he was pretty pissed. He gave me an earful.
Because he had to work?
Yeah.
Did you like give him a wah slip or something? And
he's just frustrated.
Oh.
He had something planned, and it was like one of those, like, no excuses kind of thing. Like, hey, it just has to be done, and so he had to change his plans. So he was wanting to vent.
Yeah, you understand, but yeah. Try owning a business and then leaving it for just a couple few days. You have to line up all this kind of stuff for people to step in for you, and then when you come back, you have to clean up the mess. It's just.
That's why you just don't step away for a few days.
Yeah.
What's new with you?
Oh, what is new with me? Well, somebody reached out to me overnight, and this person that reached out to me, and I'm not going to say who it is. So if you're listening, this is just for an illustration, but this is like when people start expressing concern. To me, that means we're probably about to break through. And this person, I won't read the whole thing. I may not even read it, but they were just very concerned about PulseChain. And I just encouraged them to. I told them about the marketing campaign that's happening. We're just at the beginning of alt season, and I encouraged them to come into our spaces. And I sent them a screenshot of Bitcoin down 2%, only 108,000. It was 122,000 just a couple weeks ago. Ethereum 4350. It just broke 40. It broke the all-time high a week ago. It's down 1%. PLS down 2%. pTGC UFO. But I mean, how can we expect to how can the assets on PulseChain expect to exceed the growth of Ethereum and Bitcoin at this point in the cycle? So those are some points I brought to this gentleman, and just to hopefully encourage him, because if one person is thinking like that, actually there's going to be a lot more people, with the same concerns. I'm not concerned at all. Honestly, are you concerned? What are your thoughts on all of that, man?
Yeah, the first thing is I agree. It's not just that person concerned. There's a lot of people getting a little worried right now. I think just, a lot of people have been on PulseChain for a very long time, sacrificed, 4 years ago, and for a 4-year investment to be, 60% down, it starts to kind of wear on you a little bit, especially if you put, maybe more value than you could afford to lose. And, the world hasn't gotten easier in the last 4 years either. So I understand where they're coming from. And sometimes they just want someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of. But I do feel confident in Richard having a plan. I think that plan might not be on our timelines completely. It might be based on time. It might be based on where Ethereum is at, You know, he might have a straight number that he wants Ethereum to be at before some of these bigger moves start to happen. We do see a very large campaign about to start, marketing campaign, which I find like one of the best things, right? Like the fact that we have something being done right in front of us right now. We're in it. Price is definitely not reflecting it yet, but sometimes price does not reflect right. Well, even before they even start hitting doorsteps. I think a lot of people thought, you know, price was going to start front running it, or Richard was going to help the price out a little bit before it got to people's doorsteps. I kind of thought that, but you know, obviously that's not the case, and we just kind of got to be along for the ride and see what this marketing campaign does. The one thing that I'm excited about this marketing campaign is there was like two sides, or I wouldn't even say two sides. Like I think everyone always wished, you know, new onboards would be coming into PulseChain from green candles from Richard, right? This was like what a lot of people thought was going to happen, where I like the idea that there's a lot of focus on these new onboards, like marketing to so many people, over the focus on just Richard giving everyone green candles, because I feel like those are short-lived. That's like kind of buying everyone a fish, but not teaching them how to fish. The marketing campaign kind of more feels like teaching everyone to fish to me. Like we could actually be growing our community naturally and increasing our holders, increasing the active users, which is, in my opinion, the best thing for pTGC and UFO ever. Obviously, like God Candle, a quick 4x, and we're all like, whoa, this is awesome, would feel great. But by increasing the user base, we're not only going to be increasing the prices of PulseChain, PulseX, and Hex, but those users, I kind of made a post about it last night, like, I strongly believe those users are looking for products like pTGC and UFO. People have looked, I was looking, I spent years looking for a product like pTGC and UFO, where it had the features of scarcity, of built-in APY, of a strong community, of decentralized code, sustainability, price appreciation, consistent price appreciation, also massive price appreciation. There isn't a lot of things that you can get that are sustainable and already quite large as far as community base and holder count, where there's comfort there, but also have the possibility to do 100x in a short amount of time at any moment, right? So that's more offered just being here on PulseChain instead of other blockchains. But I do think who we are marketing to is looking for this product. A lot aren't going to take action on it, right? Like just because it's a marketing campaign and some people are lazy and probably think like, oh, what is this? Like I'm not looking, but like even a small amount of people that land on PulseChain, and I think they find value in Richard's products too. But what we've found throughout the last 2 years is a very large percentage of the people that have wanted to expose themselves to PulseChain, people here on PulseChain, have also wanted to expose themselves to the code of pTGC and UFO. So why would we think that anyone new coming in who wants to expose themselves on the PulseChain blockchain, expose themselves to Richard stickers, why wouldn't they also want to expose themselves to the pTGC code as well? To where if it's just Richard pumping it up and we get some instant green candles, some people leave, some people stay, like that's not really new users besides the fact of who we onboard off of those green candles.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking like, I'm thankful I'm not on a chain, or let's put it this way. Like if you hold Bitcoin, there's really nobody, I guess, marketing Bitcoin. I don't even know if I think I assume they have a thriving community. I don't know where they exist.
They have a very thriving community. Their own community is done very, very well at marketing, right? There's some early OGs who pretty much have made it their whole life marketing Bitcoin in every way you could imagine, as far as getting it in magazines, as far as their own media outlets and news outlets, because at one point they were also
struggling,
being stressed. Like news outlets didn't want to give them any publicity. Like at one point, they were kind of in the situation that Richard's in, where no one wants to talk about them. So what they started to do is actually make their own outlets and, Reddit forums and so on and so forth to talk about the products that they actually believed in. But over time, they have broken those boundaries by showing their success and then showing that what they believed in was actually true. The fact that the is broken and there is better solutions out there, maybe not as transactional currencies. Like I still don't fully agree that it's like the best transactional currency because it's slow. It takes sometimes hours for confirmations. But as far as storing value, it's unbeaten in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and now they're getting more media coverage than ever. So like you have news outlets talking about all-time highs, like magazines, internet sites, literally TV news, documentaries on YouTube and documentaries on Netflix, like full-blown documentaries that probably cost millions of dollars to make. Like, so I think the marketing there for Bitcoin is one of the big reasons it's gotten so big. And I think they've been doing great.
Yes, I think we're going to do the same thing. I mean, when we're all crypto rich, we're going to be doing, marketing campaigns. Even the Prairie Banana has plans to spend some of his money in marketing.
You want to know one interesting thing about Bitcoin that I've thought about before that is a lot different than every other like crypto project that has came out for the most part, and Richard's kind of following this, I think, is Bitcoin didn't have existing cryptocurrency users to attack or vampire attack. They were legitimately the first cryptocurrency. Besides, I think a couple of versions of it came out before that got just completely failed and people went to jail over it.
Yes.
But for the most part, they were the first, so they had to onboard everyone from just general public people. Obviously, they kind of attacked, went after like very smart, educated, like computer-based people with mining and stuff like that. So they knew who their target audience was because they were one of those people. But they were going after, and they're still going after today because they're the person in front. Is they have to onboard from the general public. They're not able to really onboard because they're so large and they're the largest from other crypto users. It's the other cryptocurrencies that come out after that are actually trying to pull from Bitcoin. So I do think with this marketing campaign, we're kind of doing what more Bitcoin's doing and going after the more general public, the people who can just buy and hold, than the people within crypto already, right?
Yes.
And Bitcoin never had the chance, for the first good chunk of years. Like it was, just a few cryptocurrencies. So it was the only option was to onboard from the general public.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, let's get some green candles over here, and then people from Solana and Base are going to rotate over here. Like, there was nowhere for them to rotate out of. The only thing they could really rotate out of is the stock market.
We have an entire industry, an entire crypto industry that we can onboard into PulseChain. It's just, we are so perfectly staged. We just need to be patient and wait for the master of puppets to pull the right strings. He knows the right, he knows the right time, and that's one of the things I was going to say about, if we were in Bitcoin, we don't have a master leader, if you will. Not that you don't really need to have a leader in crypto because it's all, well, at least in PulseChain and pTGC and UFO, it's all decentralized, but leadership does help, and it can help. So I'm leaning on leadership, and we have leadership. We have more than just Richard Hart too. We have a plethora of fabulous leaders in PulseChain.
Yeah, I'd say with pTGC and UFO too, the leadership is the community itself. People who have obviously been around longer and who actively educate on pTGC, I'd kind of say are maybe more of the leaders, but for the most part, our community is very, very strong as an entire unit, just being educational and help working for the bag. Especially, I do believe there's going to be a new inflow of people. And this is another place where I think pTGC really stands out is when new people start coming in, they're going to need education. And our community, the pTGC community, I think is very well educated on PulseChain in general, alongside pTGC and UFO. So we can actually help them navigate their PulseChain experience while also educating them on pTGC and UFO as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're set, dude. We're set. There's obviously more things we can do. Some of those things take money, like I was alluding to a minute ago. But I think we're working well within our capacity to be ready for the pump. Rolando says Tom Lee is emerging as ETH's Michael Saylor. Do you know who Tom Lee is?
I've been seeing him.
Did you say you have been seeing him?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you happen to watch that 10-minute video I sent to you about the gentleman that was talking about Ethereum? He had a very unusual approach, but the content was, I thought it was lit, man. It was about Ethereum. Did you happen to watch that one? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I was going to, and then I forgot about it, to be honest.
Okay. It's so good. I almost want to
recap.
Oh, recap? Yeah, sure. I mean, my biggest takeaway from that video is that there are during this time, this season right now, there are corporations that are scooping up Ethereum. Lots of Ethereum. There's even one, and he highlighted one company. Oh, what did I don't remember their initial name, but they changed their name. And this is like a big firm of what, and I have not done the research on this. So I'm just repeating what I heard in the video. But they actually changed their name to ETH. Now, this is weird. And he acknowledged this in the video. He's like, I don't know why they picked this name, but ETHzilla. And they want to be the largest holder of Ethereum. And he's like, this is a clue, guys. People are scooping up Ethereum like big bags. And did you know, I learned this too from this video, that there are wallets that are buying Bitcoin every single day, like 100 Bitcoin every day. And there are wallets also that are buying Ethereum every day, like dollar cost averaging in, like methodically for, week after week, month after month.
Richard talks about this a lot. Like when you look at like business ventures and stuff like that, which these big companies are obviously very large business ventures. And if you look at the performance of Bitcoin in the last 8 years, as far as overhead to headache ratio, there isn't really a better business venture than just taking a bunch of capital and putting it in these assets. The price performance on these assets with very little management as far as overhead, very little management as manpower, and very little overhead as far as building and staff and product development or whatever the business would be, like you almost can't even beat just basing a company off of DCAing into largely appreciating assets.
So that was bullish to me. If corporations are stacking up Ethereum, then they're not dumb. Actually, but some of them can be, because I heard about Germany selling Bitcoin at, I don't know what they bought it for, but they sold Bitcoin for like $54,000 or $56,000, and they could have made billions more if they'd waited until now.
Well, they also could have gotten it for free.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
When you get it, you're in profits no matter what.
Yeah, like infinite profits. You always got to fact check stuff, right? You don't want to just take stuff at face value and especially pass it along without a disclaimer. True. Paul Sachs says that Germany is ran by ideologues. That makes sense. Hey, there's an update to Secreto Bank. I don't expect you to have seen it, but I'll tell you about it. Let me put it up on the screen here. I just noticed it this morning. So, you know, down at the bottom below the liquidity pairs, you know, you can see the total volume at the bottom, total liquidity. And I always, you know, I often go check this, but I scroll down a little bit and you can, Snowflake highlights the, what do you call it? The volume, but he made it more dynamic. So you can zoom in on ranges, like date ranges. Like right now I'm looking at, well, I can look from August 10th to August 19th last year. And I can scroll, let's see if I can scroll. Yeah, I can scroll across and look at all these little time frames, and I can widen it too. I can look from like August 5th to November 4th. Do you know that on August 30th last year, so exactly 365 days ago, our volume was $50,000 for that day. So we've done pretty much like a 3x in that time, you know, from day to day, that day to this day, and then on a chain that hasn't really done anything. That's rather impressive.
PLS is at lower prices than it was a year ago. Yeah, wow. That's super cool. So pretty much that little chart at the bottom is now more dynamic, where you can zoom in and kind of pull around. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you have to go play with it a little bit. When you do, put your cursor above. So there's a bottom part and a top part. Put your cursor above the top part, and you can. That's where you can scroll in and scroll out.
Yeah, I'm actually moving over to my computer right now. I'm gonna check it out.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the same for UFO, August 30th. So the volume for UFO. Let me make sure. I'm gonna refresh. 24-hour volume for UFO is, let's call that 26,000. But on this day last year, August 30th. Oh, come on, baby. Hold on a second. Oh, August. I got to go. I was going the wrong direction. August 30th last year. Let's see. It was. So it's 26,000 today. 18,000 last year. So a little less. Not a bucket ton less.
Oh yeah, this thing's super cool.
Yeah. It's a cool tool. Cool to have access to, you know. Because I don't even know if I don't think we have this on. No, we don't have this on look into.
Not with the ability in this date range. This is really valuable to have.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Snowflake. Every tool helps. Every tool helps.
Yeah, this site
helps us get more info out there about pTGC and UFO, especially once PulseChain starts increasing and the volume and liquidity start increasing. All these things help us showcase what the product is, because it is hard for most people to understand what's actually going on. So the more tools and visuals that we have on this, I think really helps, us explain.
Yeah. This was secretobank.com was the first tool that I'm aware of for the grays.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when it came out. Because when I came in, I was like, oh, we gotta have metrics, man. This ecosystem is exciting, and there's a lot of stuff we can track, and people came out of the woodwork like Snowflake and Crypto Kong and myself, I guess, and just started tracking stuff. And one of the reasons you want to track things and have access to tools like this is because when you're doing your research, you can see the history. So you can see where we've been compared to where we are and do some forecasting. That's one of the main values for me.
Yeah, so in the last Well, July 28th, we had a $900,000 volume day, and then throughout on July 31st and 30th, we had a few other $800,000, $900,000 volume days, and then just recently we had an $875,000 day volume with pTGC.
Yep.
It's super cool that we can now kind of zoom into those areas, and you can even zoom over to, I think, our highest day. Our highest day is February 4th, which I think was pretty close to our all-time highs as well, so this makes sense. $2,685,000 in volume in one day. PulseChain wasn't even at SAC price at that time.
Oh, it's so bullish. What's exciting too is that the volume was high at the time that the price was at its highest. So again, going to forecasting, what does that mean for when the price exceeds its previous all-time high? Well, we should probably be exceeding our volume also, if history repeats.
Yeah, especially with the help of volume and price appreciation on PulseChain RH assets as well. That was a huge catalyst for, I think, our last move up, is the volume and new holders started to actually increase around this time last year. We had like a little microcycle push, and we could actually see consistent growth out of Richard's tickers and with the volume and holder count on chain. And that directly equaled price appreciation, volume increasing, and holder count increasing for pTGC as well, and UFO, right? UFO's liquidity web is very much like, I think, $7 million of Richard Hart's tickers right now in liquidity. So with the success of the blockchain we're built on, I really think that's the catalyst for the growth of pTGC and UFO, not only in price, but what people don't, I think, see is that's also increasing the machine. The machine starts to really turn on in those events. So that equals more liquidity adds, that equals more APY, that equals more buy-in birds. So as the network we're built on picks up, pTGC's price picks up for one, but more importantly to me, all of the things that makes pTGC sustainable, all of the things that attract people to pTGC, all the things that helps create more price appreciation also amplify at that same time. You don't get the price appreciation of PLS and not the appreciation of the value generation of the pTGC machine. Because even if the market shifts are still the same, if we have more liquidity, now market makers need to move more value, right? And we make more money off of that now. So that's one thing I think is very important to pay attention to, is when the market starts picking up, that obviously means value is flowing into the chain. And if value is flowing in the chain, there's most likely that's coming from new people or existing people coming into the chain that want to expose themselves to PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, Ink, pTGC, UFO. So we're getting price appreciation there. But what this also turns into is volume and volatility and price appreciation. All of those things start compounding on itself, and that's what really activates UFO. That's what really activates pTGC, and that's what really kicks the machine. And the machine's been running great even at these bottoms, but keep in mind, even at the bottoms, it bogs it down a little bit, and when prices start moving up, it really starts to turn the machine on. So what the machine is today is technically not what it's going to be in the future. It evolves with the market evolving around us. And we've only seen pTGC since it's been of decent size, right? Like in the last year, 8 months. PLS hasn't even hit SAC price. And we've seen the machine really kick on. Like, what happens if PulseChain does a 10x from here? What would this machine look like? How strong could this machine actually be running for the user base today and the future users as well, right? Like we're looking after, hey, how well taken care of are the holders today, the people who have actually have conviction and believe in this product is a legitimate store of value. And what does this do for the new people coming in the future? Well, it creates sustainability. It creates a great environment for them to thrive in as well. It helps respect the value that they bring in, because we want new users that come into pTGC and UFOs value to be treated with respect, not only respect by our existing community, but respect by the code that they're actually interacting with as well. Think about how many things out there that exist today, code bases that just doesn't respect the value of the user that's coming in, either not putting that value to work and helping generate more APY for them, or not putting that value to work and not using that value to make the supply more scarce, or back the price of the asset with more liquidity, or a portion of that value is, even if it is generating, is just going to a single entity to just exit the chain and fund their own lifestyle. 100% of what we are generating here actually goes to the community and the price creation of the asset itself in a decentralized manner.
There's quite
and we've yet to even really seen it turn on. That's like the crazy part, is the parts we're looking at this chart, and we're like, hey, look at this $2.5 million day. This was the all-time highs of Pulse or pTGC, and it's like, well, that was PulseChain, not even at SAC price.
Yeah, and I was looking at that actually because I thought only one of the assets had done more than $2 million, but it's actually both. Both pTGC and UFO have each had their own roughly $2.5 million volume days so far.
Yeah, and those were just days. Like, imagine if we can get this system, right? This is a journey, and we're working towards that journey. We're working towards making the volume more sustainable, more consistent at those levels daily. We're working on, price being more consistent, sustainable as we get to higher levels. This is a journey of just code and math and the community growing, etc. But can you imagine a day when, the 2 million isn't our all-time highs of volume, but our average daily volume, and what that would equal for sustainable price appreciation, what that would equal for what our community even has to work with as far as onboarding, the tools that we could even show, like, hey, we're doing 2 million with each project today right now in volume. This is the amount we're buying and burning. This is the amount we're LPing. This is the amount of, DAO capital that we have to work with to do reserves, LP ads, buy and burns, etc. And this is the amount of APY that we're paying out, not off of inflation, which is coming from the chart, but off of real value generation from our ability to generate revenue off of the market shifts. And we're paying out our holders, giving them incentive to hold longer, giving large players the incentive to help support the price, to help keep onboarding more people. And then as we evolve even more, even those $2 million days could kind of float into the distance and get pushed even further.
Yeah. How's liquidity looking for pTGC and UFO? It looks like pTGC is $7.5 million, and UFO has $9.9 million in liquidity.
Yeah, that's mainly just the assets, in general that we're bonded to pulling back. I think there was a little pullback on our assets as well. I always like to look at when PLS is moving up, that's the market having an inflow of new capital. And if you put every token on chain as far as in that category as the market, there's an inflow of money into the market, into pTGC and UFO. But then when PLS starts going down, that means there's an outflow, right? Value is leaving the chain. You can make a good assumption that value doesn't only leave from one asset. Value does not only leave from Pulse. It leaves from a lot of the sustainable larger projects on the chain, when value starts to leave, when PLS starts to go down. So yes, usually when PLS does start to go down, we have an X multiplier in that way, right? We have value leaving polls, we have value leaving RA stickers, we also maybe have a little bit of value leaving pTGC and UFO as well, especially due to the fact that it's one of the only projects on chain people are actually even up on. Majority of things are just down and to the right on chain. But when value does start flowing in, this is a great indicator. Is new value or even existing value just coming into blockchain. And when value starts flowing back into blockchain, this is a great time for us to do X's over the blockchain as well. If, our holders, etc., are, seeing value and holding longer. And I don't think we have an issue with the code base or, the fact that we have our bonded liquidity. Right now it's, hey, let's just keep grinding, let's keep onboarding, let's keep educating. So when people do come to PulseChain, we educate them on what is here, and that we do believe this is everything that they have been looking for as far as the product goes.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't step up and educate them, why would you think they would find out about it? You know what I mean? We have to get in front of them.
We are. We're probably not doing as well as we could be, because you can only do, this is one of my sayings, you can only do so much with the knowledge that you have, but you should always be trying to, sharpen your skills, gain new knowledge, being held accountable for more things that to do. But like, who was it in the chat here? Ray Doku says, hey, when TikTok? I'm like, yeah, when that's a good one. When TikTok. I have a TikTok, but I don't operate it very well. So we need somebody to step up and do a TikTok. I mean, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I don't have a TikTok.
If somebody wants to start TikTok, we will support you. You have a base of, you already have a fan base. Whoever wants to start a TikTok, because I hear TikTok works great. It might end up being me, but I just don't think so. Honestly, I think TikTok is probably more suited for a younger person. I think they would get more views, and especially a female. You know what I mean? That's my opinion on TikTok. But yeah, go do it, man. Ray Doku. I'm gonna put it right back on you. But I'm sure you're probably joking. But no, it's a good point, because there was a gentleman, I don't know if you saw this around on Twitter earlier this week. He was a PulseChain guy, if I remember correctly. Put a 30-second video up, and it had over 1 million views on TikTok. And I was like, whoa, that's a fabulous success right there.
Yeah, I think, obviously getting the algorithm to push your video is the hardest part, but I do believe what pTGC and UFO offer is seriously what the majority of people who care about their future are looking for.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I think it's what they're looking for. They just don't know it exists. And there's so much hay, it's hard to even find that needle. And a lot of people kind of stop looking, right? They take assumption that everything that's thrown in front of their face is that hay, just, being sold as the next big thing. But I do strongly believe that pTGC and UFO fundamentally and community-wise is what they are looking for. But we have to get it in front of them. Sometimes it takes a few times. I think a lot of times where we are at PulseChain right now is we've been running for, 2 years straight, and we thought that we were going to be coming close to a finish line or a milestone months ago, and it just never came. So people are starting to get exhausted, like, hey, where is this ending? Where is this milestone with the water break? I'm getting tired here. But I think this is the time where our own community, call to action I'm trying to do here is, hey, that finish line is in sight, and we need to make sure that we get there and we push hard, because when new people start coming in, we want their attention to be drawn to pTGC and UFO for multiple reasons. One, because I believe this is the product they've been looking for. For two, this helps appreciate the pTGC price. This also increases liquidity web, which makes the machine even stronger. Three, if people come to PulseChain brand new and the value that they bring in is actually treated with respect, right? If they get good price appreciation, if they actually like the products that they get, educated on and advertised, and then they have great results, they're more likely to go and educate more people on it and bring more people into this chain. If they end up here and they instantly get like attacked by, let's say, a scam or a rug pull, and they're like, hey, this is the next place you can change your life 100x in the next week, and they go and gamble on that meme token, and then they lose their $5,000 they just brought in, well, most likely they're not bringing more money in. They're most likely not telling any of their friends.
Mm-hmm.
So when new people start flowing in, I think it is important to bring them to the products that have a great track record for treating people's value with respect, a good track record of, over periods of time getting people into profits and help changing people's lives. I think they can obviously have a portion of their portfolio playing the crypto casino, but we want to make sure that these onboards are properly educated in the space and the game that they're playing, because most likely they're not. Most likely they don't understand that 99% of projects do fit this industry. So putting your capital in the things that have sustainability, or a good portion of your capital, is important in my opinion. Like 90% or something like that, a mix between RH tickers, pTGC and UFO, the sustainable assets that can very much do life-changing amounts of X's in very short amount of time. And then, have a portion of your bag if you want to play a couple of those games. But if they come in and then instantly get tricked into a project that's failed or ran by bad actors, or just, not battle tested and the contract gets exploited and value just gets ripped, they're not onboarding anyone to this. They're literally pretending they never did this and not telling a soul, and just walking away and going back to their life.
Yeah, when it comes to the postcards too, by the way, people are going to be, or whatever they are, the gifts, people are going to be talking when they receive those gifts. And they'll be talking to their neighbors. They'll talk to their friends. There will be crypto relationships developed as a result of these gifts, because people will find out their coworker got one also, and then they'll have a commonality, something to talk about. And I think that there's going to be a lot of onboarding in the next 6 months. I'm doing some math right now. Just on, like, if we assume that there are 10 million mail pieces, and let's say, they cannot send them all out in one big batch because of the sheer quantity. So let's say they do it over, they managed to push out all these mail pieces in 6 months. It would be 400,000 mail pieces sent out every week. 10 million mail pieces over 6 months is 400,000 a week. If the response rate is 3%, and I got that set a little bit high, maybe, yeah, I think a really good response rate is 3.5%, but that would be 12,000 new users every week. And if each one of those injected $1,000 into PulseChain, like just the first week, that would be a $12 million injection of capital, which would 2.7x PulseChain. But then if you factor it out over 6 months, and what's neat about this campaign too, Zen, is I look at it as dollar cost averaging. Some of the newer people, the early on people that are receiving these gifts, they're going to be welcomed with red candles. Welcome to PulseChain.
Real quick, Banana.
Sure.
I think $12 million injected into PulseChain is a lot more than a 2.5x.
I looked it up on Pampy. Maybe, I've got it even split. Custom split. I must have it set wrong on
maybe
Pampy.
Maybe you have cell pressure on or something like that.
Let me check. Do you have the ability to check? Oh, I do have some sell pressure, 50% sell pressure. Yep, you're right. Let's see what it is now. 5x. It's a 5x. I like that better. Okay. A 5.11x. But that's just the first week. That's a 3% response on 400,000 mail pieces, bringing in 12,000 new users. And like I was saying, those new users, they're gonna be welcomed with red candles. But those are the people that will have the greatest opportunity if they buy those red candles. And then if this thing really took 6 months to do the whole thing start to finish, by the finish, in theory, your latest recipients, your oldest recipients, would come into PulseChain with green candles. Everybody's going to come in and put $1,000, or whatever they're going to put in, but some are going to buy it when the candles are red, and some are going to buy it when it's already done a number of X's. But what my curiosity is, if you have $12 million a week, that times 6 months, that's 12 million times, we'll call that 25. That'd be $300 million in buy pressure. What would that do to PulseChain? 300 million, calculate. That would be a 1,057x. 1,057x. With no sell pressure. That's just sheer math. Then, of course, we could bring that over to look into. But yeah, I think the impact of this mailing campaign is going to be enormous. I'm excited about it. How can we better position the grays to be ready to receive or intercept these people when they come over to PulseChain?
Yeah, I think being helpful, being educational, helping them navigate the space. I do think a lot of people won't only want to get into RH tickers. If you look at, the last 2 years, with PulseChain in general, a lot of people within PulseChain today wanted to have large positions of RH tickers, right? This is obvious. But they've also wanted to expose themselves to some of the other alt communities on chain. And I think it's just important for our alt community to try to be, loud and proud of what we believe in and what product we have, and onboard to it, right? With a new user base, this obviously gives us the ability to expand and grow and increase the value of pTGC and UFO, but also help these new users put their value in something that has the ability to appreciate with sustainable growth, has the ability to pay the APY, has the value to become more scarce over time, has the ability to generate value off of the market movements, etc. I do believe this is the product a lot of people are looking for. I think even alone, right, them getting into PulseChain assets is products that a lot of the people have been looking for. Hex, PulseX, Pulse. I think by them just coming to PulseChain, they are exposing themselves to great products. But I do think there is a portion of their portfolio that they want to put into some alt tokens on the chain as well that have a great track record, a great community, and also math and mechanics behind the products to support the price appreciation over time. But if we don't show it to them, if we don't try to educate them, if we don't guide them to our direction, they won't know about it, right? And that's kind of where we need to step up as the community and be here for when they start flowing in. So they are guided in good directions and not just interjected by bad actors or rug pulls or, pretty much everything that happens on every other chain. There's tons of times where new people come into blockchain, they see people winning, they want to be exposed to winning, they come in, get interjected by scams or just bad projects, and they lose all their money. And a lot of time, those scams and bad projects just take their money, those new users' money, and just leave the chain. So all that hard work that you just did bringing in a new user just left the blockchain, and you left the user with an unhappy experience. So if we can get these users in, if Richard can help get these users in with this marketing campaign and the nonprofit, and they come here and they have a great experience, well, guess what? Now we have a referral to his buddy or his neighbor. You know, he has drinks with his neighbor. He said, hey, I got this thing in the mail. I had this great experience. I'm already up 50% on my $5,000. I've only been doing it for a month or a week or a day, you know, whatever it is. And now it starts to expand, you know what I mean? Because now that neighbor wants to be exposed. And if he comes in, he also has a great experience, you know, he's going to tell someone. But if you bring them in and they just have an awful experience, he's not telling his neighbor. He's probably not even telling his wife.
Right. Someone was asking on YouTube if new people, you know, people coming into the chain, when they get these postcards, would they buy red candles? My answer is going to be absolutely. Absolutely, they're going to buy red candles, because some of the people I believe will have some experience with crypto, some won't. And so I think there's going to be all kind of different levels of thought processes and experience when they come over, when they're faced with this marketing material and have to make a decision. You know, do I move on this opportunity or not?
I think green candles are necessary for it really to work, is my honest opinion. If someone gets this postcard and they see that the asset that they're being advertised is down 7% in a day, I think they're going to have a hard time taking action on that, especially if they look at the chart and it's 60% down in its lifespan, or, you know, in the last year. But if they go and they look, they get this piece of mail and they see that the asset they're being advertised is up 10% just in that day. And they're thinking, wow, if I put $10,000 in yesterday, I would have made $1,000. That's going to get people to take action. Showing them that their asset, if they put $10,000 in and they would have lost $700, you know, a 7% retracement or something like that, or a 10% retracement, they're not going to take action on that. You know what I mean? Like, most people do not buy red candles. Most people are not experienced traders.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that we need some green candles when these marketing pieces start coming out. And maybe that's why we haven't seen them yet, because we want them to kind of start getting in the hands of users first. And then maybe some green candles start to appear. And we want them to receive these products, and we want them to instantly want to look up the product. And we want them to see PulseChain up 10% that day, because that's going to give them the spark, the motivation to take action on something that's a little bit difficult, right? Like, it is difficult to get to PulseChain, and the only way you're going to get users to do this on their own is by showing them, like, wow, if you got in yesterday, you came in with $10,000, you would have been up $1,000. And then let's say they don't take action right away. They're saying, hey, I'm going to watch this for another day. The next day, let's say it's up another 10%. Now they're like, oh my God, I just lost $2,000 just by waiting on this. Like, then FOMO starts to kick in, and it doesn't matter if you're in crypto or not in crypto. FOMO is real in every person.
Mm-hmm. But there are people that will buy red candles. The people that are probably most adventuresome, you know, and it could be those initial buys that set the green candles for the wave of mailers of the following week. I don't know, because apparently those mailers are dropping, or supposed to be in mailboxes here within days. I heard even yesterday, but I haven't seen any evidence. But the point is that the chain is not doing great right now. So if the point is to have green candles when they come, well, we're a little behind the ball.
Yeah. The best thing about being at the bottom is you have a lot of room up to go.
Oh yeah. That's what's exciting to me about it. I mean, there are some people that are panicking. I'm like, man, this is the contrast between today and where, you know, the all-time high. Whenever we have that, it's going to be magnificent. And not just the contrast in price, but the contrast in sentiment. I so look forward to it.
Yeah. give a couple of green weeks on PulseChain, get a decent amount over stack price, new onboards coming in, the morale on PulseChain can change very, very rapidly within 2 to 3x. So then when new users come in, they see a big happy family, not people pulling their sister's hair out and stuff.
Do you have some experience with that recently or something? I'm just kidding. Does anybody else want to come up and talk? It doesn't need to be Zen and I. This is only 2 personalities, but there's a lot of people in the audience, guys. You come up and talk and spice it up a little bit. Does anybody have any comments or questions? I mean, this is. I'm going to tell you what, guys. We always use that saying. Back in the good old days, the good old days, the good old days. And I'm always saying, like, okay, we are in the good old days. All right. Wherever we are in our life. I mean, you can make it the good old days. I'm going to tell you what, right now, these are the good old days. One way or another. It's the good old days. Back when prices were so low and it's such a smashing opportunity. Should have sold that car that's been sitting in the driveway for years, and got it into PulseChain. The good old days. Roop Soar wants to know the prediction for price this cycle. Up, Roop, up. Very much so, in my opinion. I think we just did an experiment based on the mailers that are going out, that will be going out apparently, and the impact on PulseChain and the price impact on pTGC. And I still have it pulled up on my other screen. I'll flash it for you. So, and that's all.
Real quick, did you say how many mailers are going out, or were you just guessing?
Guessing. 10 million.
You said 10 million?
Yeah.
I would say the success rate of a mailer where people have to take extreme action, because you have a mailer where it's offering a website to you where you can just punch a credit card in and buy a product and it ships to your house. I feel like it's a little bit more difficult to get into crypto. So even at a 1% rate, I would consider 1% extremely successful.
That's true.
And I I think you're using $1,000. I personally think the average will probably be a little higher than $1,000, at least in the United States, I'd say. Just because of the difficulty factor, hey, if you go through all these steps and you get there, I think people will throw a little bit more in. So I think the average investment will be a little more, but I think the average success rate on mailer will be a little less. But I do think if, let's say we're getting 1% of people and those people have a good experience on PulseChain, I think 100% of those people tell a friend and get a buddy in.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they have a good experience.
Yeah, but that's a fair point. I mean, getting people actually onto the chain is a challenge.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if maybe you want to plug in some of those numbers, right? 1% success rate over the next 6 months. And I don't know, maybe $2,000 average.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to build a
some people will come in with a good chunk. I believe some people come in with 20K, over a period of time. It might be a little bit of DCAing and stuff like that. But then obviously there will be some people that come in with $400. But
yeah, I'm going to build a little calculator and a spreadsheet to do some simulations. I think that's a good way to approach it. It could be anything, I mean, some people are going to bring $500. Some people are going to bring $500,000. Really. 100%.
100%. Yeah. So 100,000 people, let's say at $5,000. Let's say that's the average. I think that's a little high, but for fun, that's $500,000 $500 million. And that's what we're kind of saying is that's only the onboarding from postcards.
Yeah. That's just the postcard recipients. That's not everybody that they're talking to, and the organic growth from
green candles.
People coming from Solana, Pulsicans becoming more bullish and excited, and talking to their friends. Oh, man.
So one thing that I like look at when I'm looking at that, and we could plug in $500 million, what that does to PulseChain, it's massive, right? Like, and even if a portion of that trickles down to Hex and PulseX, that equals some massive X multipliers for those as well. Same goes for pTGC and UFO. If some of that new value coming in trickles to pTGC and UFO, those are some massive X multipliers for pTGC and UFO. But one thing I'm super excited about, it's not so much the $500 million coming in, it's the 10x of the user base on PulseChain. This is so important, the 10x of the user base. We need to be focusing on increasing the user base, not only just with the amount of capital coming in, because by 10xing the user base, it's going to increase the likelihood of long-term success of PulseChain. Not just a quick pump this cycle and people take profits and leave. We need a whole entire economy to be built here. Like, we're building a city right now. And right now, you know, we have our OGs that kind of came into the city and saw value in this land. You know, we saw, hey, it's close to freeways, it's beachfront, it's got good weather. Like, we see all the things that we want in a thriving city right here. And we're kind of like setting our roots, we're building the foundation, we're kind of building our own homes. And then now we're at the point now we're like, okay, well, we need to onboard more people to the city so it's a thriving economy. So people are spending money at our hardware store, people are spending money at our grocery stores. And so all of this could expand. Because if it's just here forever, it will remain a small town, but it will never develop into that thriving city that we know everyone wants. The lucky thing for us here on pTGC UFO, the communities here, is we've been able to pick the primest real estate in the entire city and got it for dirt cheap. You know, look at pTGC. It owns like 20% of all the Hex liquidity on chain, or 20% of the PulseX liquidity on chain, or something like that. Like, and we have that forever. We will generate revenue off of that forever. Now the goal is to make PulseChain in general like the thriving city we know it could become. So this main street property that we have, or this beachfront property that we have, actually gets to develop and evolve into the value that we believe it's worth.
Yep. Anyhow,
especially if the people that we create this economy with, the city with, are new to crypto. I think that part is so important. Like, if some of this value comes from more traditional people have a lot more of a long-term mindset. They're used to real estate investments or stock investments, to where when they get into them, they're willing to sit for decades at a time, or at least multiple years. They're not looking to stay within an ecosystem for 1 month just for a cycle. So if we're onboarding from more of a traditional side of things, these people will be willing to come into PulseChain and leave value on chain for years, right? And obviously scrape profits and help their life, but with a large portion of their value, I bet you it will stay, which this is important for sustainable growth. This isn't just a huge rise up and then a huge dump down. We need some of this value to stay multi-cycle and have community members stay multi-cycle as well.
Paul Sachs makes a comment. He says, how many of these new users do these two things? 1, tell 4 friends and get them in. 2, continue to DCA in as prices go up. The top that keeps topping. I mean, that's exactly.
I would say a very large percentage of them. I think if someone gets in, let's say they get in with $1,000, they say, hey, I just got this mailer. I looked, price was up 10% on the day. I'm going to figure this out and get $1,000 in. If price keeps going up 10% for a few more days, like you said, Banana, I think they start looking at their car in the driveway saying, this thing needs to go.
Yeah. Or that RV or, the vacation home that they've had. I have friends that have stuff laying around, and I'm like, man, if you only knew what was going on over here, you would.
Yeah. And then the tell the friends thing, right? If someone does like this move on their own and it works out well, people love to tell their friends about their good moves. They're like, hey, I put $1,000 in this and now it's worth $1,500 in a week. Like, dude, that's something they tell their friends about, and then their friends want to be exposed to that too. So just like Paul was saying, like, I think if we get new users in and their value gets treated with respect, if we give them price appreciation, if they have a great user experience of this blockchain, just like any product, any company, if you onboard a new customer to any business and they have a great experience, they leave reviews, they tell their friends, they recommend you to the next person who needs that product. If they have a horrible experience, they leave bad reviews and they don't tell anyone, So we need to just make sure we're giving people an amazing user experience throughout this huge marketing event. And if we can give them a great user experience, it could start to multiply out, like Paul said, times 4. They tell 4 friends. If we 10x our user base and go from 10,000 active users to 100,000 active users, and those 100 active users tell 4 friends, well, now we're at 500,000 active users.
Yeah.
And we just 50x the user base.
Mm-hmm. And we are coming into the holidays when families get together, like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah, man. This is good. This is a setup, man. It's a setup for a very positive outcome, in my estimation.
Yeah, and we're getting close. The light is right there. We're hearing that these things are hitting the doorsteps any day now. And it'll be a trickle effect, right? Which I think we need. I don't think our community can just be thrown into the fire. I think we need, hey, let it drip into us. Let us get our foundation. Let us get used to onboarding all these people, educating all these people, because, very similar to like this space right now, like within weeks, this space could start to turn into a very basic educational space to where it's not having very in detail, in-depth, hard to understand things. We might have to get back to square one, understanding that the people coming into these spaces might know absolutely nothing, right? We could be talking about a liquidity web and they might not even know what a liquidity pool is.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So we need to start. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we need to set our mind to be ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, sadly might be a little boring for everyone that's been here for 2 years, but I think they'll be fine with it. And understanding that the most important thing is to properly educate others on how to navigate crypto, how to navigate PulseChain, how to navigate pTGC and UFO's code properly, so they don't make mistakes.
What we could do is, like, one of the spaces per week is geared more toward educating new users, people coming over into crypto. Like what I do twice a week on YouTube, my presentation, I think is probably advanced for brand new people into crypto. I don't know that for a fact, but I have a hunch.
Yeah, I think you're pretty willing to do anything anyone asks, which is important. And that's kind of what I think we just need to even have with these spaces. If someone comes in here and has a basic question, we just need to be ready and willing to help the simplest of questions. If it's like, hey, I don't even know how to use PulseX, I don't even know how to bridge over to PulseChain. Like, I'm struggling with that. I got this postcard in the mail. I have no idea, or this gift in the mail. It has PulseChain.com written on it, but I have no idea even how to get there. And that might be a boring experience for everyone listening, but I do think it's important for us to help those users when they do come to possibly what I could call a help desk. And we want to help them, and we want to give them a great experience, because if we can give them a great experience, then they can then go and tell their buddies. They can now help their buddies, which is nice, right? Like after we get into like normies who have no friends in PulseChain, but once we can educate them on how to do it, they'll go to their friends and they won't have to send their friends here for like the over the phone walkthrough. They'll probably help their friends in person. So now we're educating users on how to do DeFi properly and how to get on, and then that can expand out greatly too.
You were talking about onboarding and the impact on the chain, and Paul makes a comment. He says, every doubling of the user base, you square the price. So let's double that user base, guys.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about 10xing the user base. So that would be 100xing the price. If we 50x the user base, would that be 500xing that price? I think that would be more.
I've got some data on the total Pulse wallets. It looks like it's
one. The Pulse wallets though is not user base.
You don't think like 21,000 new wallets in a month is? You don't think that's all new users?
Absolutely not.
What do you think it consists of if it's not new users? I'm just I don't know.
Shifting money to new wallets.
Yeah. So
I really don't think it's new users, to be honest with you, even close. I would say less than 10% of that's new users.
Oh, wow. Wow. You think 90% of it's just, starting new wallets and such?
Yeah.
Okay.
If not more, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Like, look at the price. The price is going down.
Oh, yeah.
So that means no new money has came across that bridge for the most part.
That is true.
I think people are just kind of setting themselves up for the bull market. And, if you think a big event's coming, a big task is coming, a bull market, the best thing you could do is prep for that. That's one thing I think stands out about pTGC and UFO is we've been prepping for the last 2 years. We've been building up our LPs. We've been buying and burning weekends out of our holder base. We've been decreasing our supply, creating a scarce asset. We've been showcasing how this asset functions and educating our community. We're super prepared, like more prepared than I ever thought we would be. And everyone else is doing that independently as well. Like I'm sure you're doing that independently, probably without even knowing. Just kind of getting yourself set up for what you think is going to happen in the near future, so you're well prepared for any event that gets thrown at you.
We're putting in our 10,000 hours, Zen. You know what that reference? You know what I'm talking about?
What is it?
I thought about this a couple of weeks ago. I just forgot to tell you. They say, I think who was it? Maybe somebody can tell me in the chat. Who wrote the book? Malcolm Gladwell authored a book, and he talked about professionals that get really good at something, like playing the violin or playing a tennis game, whatever the skill is, and the benchmark is 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours pretty much makes you an expert at whatever it is that you're doing. Joe Rogan, I bet he's put in 10,000 hours. He's a master at interviewing people. You and I are putting in our 10,000.
Yeah, I think I've heard 10 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, there it is. Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. Yeah, I think that's the title of the book. So yeah, we're trying to be ready for these people when they come.
Yeah, that's one thing I always try to pay attention to. It's like myself, I'm also learning how to educate people on this product in the best and most efficient way. How to run these spaces, what the best use of our time is, and stuff like that. And as time goes on, after we see this inflow of new people, even on the first wave of inflow of new people, like we're going to get better at this, right? Like I personally hopefully improve as far as onboarding new people, educating new people, understanding what things they need to hear on these spaces, understanding what things to leave out just because we don't want to give these users too much to chew. right? Like people can only digest certain amounts of bytes at a time or swallow certain amounts of bytes at a time. And we can't just shove a whole steak in their mouth and expect them to swallow that information. So I'm learning with it too. I think this first wave of people will be a great learning experience for us. What kind of people come in, what we need to be explaining to them, what we need to help them with, what tools we might need on standby, maybe for you, Banana, like, hey, what things do I need to pull up on YouTube and be ready to pull up on YouTube? That's one nice thing with this onboarding thing. If we are having to onboard users and they come up to the spaces, like, hey, we can be like, hey, dude, get off the spaces real quick, go over or stay on spaces, but pull up Banana's YouTube visually, turn off the speaker so you don't have an echoing, and Banana's going to start showing you the stuff visually so we can help you get through whatever hurdle you're trying to get through. Like, these are all going to be good things. And that being said, I don't think there's a lot of communities in crypto like willing to do that for people multiple times a week, one by one.
That's true. In PulseChain or in crypto.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, PulseChain or in crypto. I was more speaking about crypto. I think there is people, like the PulseChain community is very, very helpful. I think that's where we're going to excel. Is there's a lot of willing people here to help, and by getting proper exposure and getting new users in, I think we are here. We're large enough to actually help whatever quantity of people need help, and we're probably going to get better at it too.
Yeah, I agree.
And then pTGC and UFO alone, as far as like individual products, I don't know of many individual products of this size where there's some of the key community members there to make themselves available for questions, conversations, and helping pretty much every single day.
Yeah. Who else wants to come up and chat? It has been a quiet week. Honestly, it's been very quiet. Maybe this week things will pick up. I think the next thing, two things that I can think of that are on our timeline, which would be the mailers, which are going to start trickling out soon. I think within days. They might even be in mailboxes today. Who knows? But then you have the FOMC meeting, which is, I believe, is the 16th and 17th of September. And that is going to pump. Well, if they reduce interest rates, it's going to have a positive effect on crypto.
Yeah, I think another big thing that we need is ETH to break through that all-time high and stay above it and
yes,
kind of keep trending upwards. This was a big catalyst for last alt season. If you look at Hex's chart, Hex didn't fully start to break out, like where some of the bigger gains were made, where the chart is just like God candle, God candle, God candles on the weeklies. Not God candles, but like great price movement on the weekly. That didn't happen until ETH was decently far past its previous all-time high.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's true.
I don't think it's going to be much different. Maybe it starts front running it a little bit because of these mailers and stuff like that. But I do think ETH going decently past its all-time high is a huge catalyst that we need on PulseChain, but also just all of alt season needs for like that really big push a lot of people are waiting for.
Yeah.
So that's another one, right? So mailers, meeting, ETH making a decent move past its all-time high. A video would be sweet, live or recorded.
Gray's Currencies video?
A Richard Hart video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or both.
Or both, yeah.
Well, I think he's good.
Once things start picking up, we'll start maybe doing on Wednesdays or Fridays a video together. And if anyone else wants to come in and do a video with us, Snowflake, Trevor, William, like any community member that just wants to come up and do a video with us.
And you mean streaming?
Yeah, streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a good time. I look forward to streaming again this week. If we don't stream with anybody or just have just kind of a standard chat, because I think we'll probably stream this week. We do have end of month data that I'll be getting together on Monday. So we'll have the monthly data for August that we can review.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, maybe we'll just do that one this week and then save maybe a community member for the following.
Yeah. One of the highlights that I discovered yesterday in the Telegram chat was there have been quite a number of unlocks in August. And it actually so many that it put us well above our average for last year. Average for last year was 400 million. I think we're at 560 million, I think, at this point right now. There was a pretty sizable unlock yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, I actually have some information on that. Sadly, that was done on accident by someone. And yeah, so for anyone who is locked, there is two things I always suggest. First off is wait a couple days or a day after your unlock period. Also, there is a warning underneath where you hit unlock that says 30% penalty applies to early unlock. That does disappear when you have fulfilled your time. This user had a date and a time on his thing, and he thought he just had to go into that day, not past that day in time. So he waited till literally just the minute ticked over into that day at 12 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And did it to where he didn't go past that threshold of the time of that day. So he waited a long time and then obviously did it hours too early.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, there is no penalty for going past your day. I always will suggest, dude, wait a couple days past your date. Just make sure that you're not getting penalized or anything. Also, there is a little warning thing underneath that will disappear as well. A 30% hit is quite hard for just not being too aware of how this code works. And I get that there's so many moving parts within pTGC that it is difficult to know every single aspect of the code. So everyone just kind of keep your radar on for that. If you have a lock coming up and you're planning on getting that lock as soon as it becomes free, I suggest wait a couple days past. Also, it doesn't just come free on that day. There's a time period that you have to wait through on that day based on when you made the lock on that day. It doesn't just come free right when that day hits. You have to pass the exact time that you made that lock within that day. So don't wait for that day. Go to the next day after that is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Yeah. Heck, wait a week if you're worried about it.
Yeah. And if you set your locks like 1 week into the next higher tier, where you're earning from that tier, then you're already almost a year early anyhow, in a sense. So waiting an extra few days or hours, days preferably, is we should be able to work that into our life. That's good advice.
Yeah, just there's pros with self-custody, but then there's also cons. Obviously the con is when you make a mistake within decentralized immutable code, is that mistake is made. And you can't hit me up and say, hey, can I get my funds back? It's code. It's already dispersed amongst the entire locker base. I can't scrape. It doesn't go to my wallet. It literally gets divided amongst everyone within the protocol. Again, with self-custody, with decentralized immutable code, there's so many pros, but there is also things that cannot be set back or and turned around if a mess up of a button is clicked. So when you are interacting with code and with smart contracts, be very, very present. Don't do it when you're drunk or in the middle of the night, half awake, half asleep. Get a coffee in you, make sure your kids aren't screaming in the background. Really become present, because what pTGC is today is not what it's going to be in the future. It could be so much higher. And look at your portfolio. Let's say it's worth $10,000 today. Pretend that $10,000 is actually what it could be in the future. It could be $1 million. And that's a very serious thing that you're interacting with, something that possibly is $1 million or more or a little less, whatever it is, but take it serious. I know a lot of people tend to be touching so many buttons within crypto, and they take it very unserious because at times the value is lower, but very small amounts of money can turn into very large amounts of money.
Yes.
So just be very careful with what you're doing and take pTGC very serious when you're interacting with the code on chain. It's a mutable code. If you click the wrong button, some buttons you click aren't that big a deal. Some buttons that you click are a big deal. And just be very careful, guys.
Yeah, that's solid advice. Got to be present. I've been present. Yeah, that's a good term. I've been wrecked so many times. I just get in a hurry, wasn't paying attention, forgot about X, Y, or Z, and then yeah.
Yeah, just recently I saw someone send. You could tell they were trying to send. I was looking at a wallet. You could see that they were trying to send a portion of their pTGC to another wallet, and they accidentally sent it to the pTGC
contract. Yeah. Oh man.
And it's like it's gone. And that person didn't hit me up or anything. They just knew. But it's just like, hey, be present. If you're sending funds, if you're swapping, if you're claiming or withdrawing or unlocking, be present, because what this stuff is worth today, a $2,000 mistake today could be a $200,000 mistake in the future.
Oh yeah.
What that value can turn into. So
for sure.
Just be very serious about this stuff. I take pTGC and UFO very serious. I consider it a very serious long-term system, long-term investment. And one small mistake could be a lot of value. And we want the users who believe in pTGC in these early days, right? We're only at year 2. We want all of these people to win so hard with pTGC.
Yes.
We want these people to be the max rewarded, not someone who accidentally made a mistake and lost a good portion. So if you have any questions about what you're doing and you're confused, do not be afraid to ask. We try to have VCs are spaces daily. If you have a spot that you're somewhat confused about as far as the DApp goes or just anything, like just how something functions, just wait a day. There's no penalties as far as time with this system. So you're not going to get hit with something because you didn't unlock or unstake or, luckily even for buying, you know what I mean? Like we are a system that's been out for almost 2 years now. If you're having an issue with buying, it is possible to wait a few hours for one of us to respond to you in our community to help you. You're not going to die in those 4 hours if you can't buy right off the bat. It is tricky stuff. It is very complex smart contracts. We are here to help. That's why we have these spaces. That's why I've made all of my time as far as in quotes development for pTGC and UFO is educational pieces for the products, right? The website I'm currently working on is mainly based on the stats and analytics because I want other tools to educate our community. Also want to be present here to help any user that's currently here or coming in the future as well. Code base is completely complete. Now it's the time where we just educate people on what this code is and how it functions.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest task, truthfully.
Yeah. So, and speaking of the website, perhaps some of those cautionary points can be made on the site also.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to, before this new website goes live, I'm going to have a very in-depth run through on warnings and stuff like that for these actions that obviously are a little bit more serious, like withdrawals and unlocks, etc.
Cool.
Hey Zen, just an idea, but you know how like on the hex locks or the hex stakes, there's a bar underneath it and it shows like you're 80% through your stake or 90% or 99%. Like there's plenty of times I thought my hex stake was due and it wasn't. It showed 99%, so I needed one more day. I wonder, I don't know if it's too late with the new website, but maybe a simple percentage bar under each lock that shows you what percentage you've completed of your lock. And then obviously it would be really obvious because people would see they're not 100%, so they would know they're going to have a fee if they try to unlock. Again, maybe too late, but just an idea.
Yeah, I have a round of markups I still need to do for the DApp. I am going to probably release the stats page a little bit early just because I want our community to have that for educational purposes, especially with new people coming in. But I am going to take a little bit more time on the DApp itself, so that's probably something I can get incorporated. And once the whole thing is functioning, I probably will do a round where I let a couple people kind of look at it and give their inputs on the changes. So definitely, I think something like that can be added.
You know, kind of touching back a little bit on the marketing piece, I just want to kind of share, you know, my experience a little bit. I've done plenty of marketing campaigns, multi-state, you know, in my companies, and I can tell you, you know, like if you look at PulseChain first and foremost as the company and the users as the customers, what we've had is the same customers for a long time. And in a company, yeah, that's okay. I mean, you can keep growing your current customers, getting them to spend more, buy different products, etc. But eventually you start to lose a few customers here and there. And eventually customers are done buying. They've got everything they need that your company is providing. And, you know, I've often said, I think PulseChain's kind of issue is we're not bringing on any new customers. And that's what excites me the most of this marketing campaign. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't care what the product is.
Yep.
When it comes to marketing, and at least from my standpoint, everything I've ever done, the vast volume of marketing outweighs the product by a lot. Now, that doesn't mean you can just send a pack of pencils, you know, as long as it's still decent, but the vast volume is what matters. And impressions are what matters. You know, when I was starting my companies, we were still doing newspaper ads. And the newspaper marketing people would always talk about impressions versus how many papers go out. You know, they may say, hey, we're sending 500,000 newspapers out, but we're going to get you 3 million impressions because they believe that same paper may get touched or read, an ad be seen by multiple people because they're sitting at a doctor's office or a dentist's office or even in a home of 6 people. You know, 2 people may read the paper and you're getting twice the impression per product.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that, all the impressions, it's all about volume. You know, there's an old marketing saying. It's I guess a little crude, but you know, they say marketing is kind of like sperm. You got to send millions of them out there, but it only takes one to make it successful. And that's really a true thing. You know, even if millions go out and we only get a couple 100,000 people to join, of those couple 100,000, what if a couple of them are guys that are putting $1 million in the PulseChain, $500,000 in the PulseChain, and then their friends come into the play? So it's also what type of customers we can get from this marketing. And I've had a few people kind of tell me they've heard this, they've heard that. You know, some people have shared some information. You know, who knows what's true, what's not true, but the one consistent seems to be that Richard's putting millions and millions of these products out there, which is a lot of impressions. And impressions is the most important part, again, at least from my experience. So that makes me very bullish because it's been hard. Like, I love PulseChain, you know, but still, it's like, golly, come on. We're losing customers daily. We're red. You're seeing other chains win, other tokens win, and that's hard to swallow. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big of a maxi you are. You're lying if you don't say that you feel that a little bit. But to me, the most exciting part has been, you know, this marketing campaign, and I can't wait to see as they start to hit places, what does the chart do then? You know, and back earlier, you know, I got to kind of disagree with you, Banana, a little bit. You know, I do think we need the green candles. I don't think people buy on red candles ever. You know, if you hear about a new project, even if it's on PulseChain, some really good friends that you trust say you should look at it and buy it, and it's deep in the red, chances are you don't still. You watch it a little longer, so we do need the green candles, and Richard's no dummy. I think he understands that. He's going to bring some of that as these marketing pieces start to hit, and hopefully the marketing pieces alone is what brings the green candles. We've got to have more customers on chain. We've got to have more customers coming into our stores and then grow them. We can't keep relying on the same people because these guys are done buying our products.
Yeah.
You know, new things are launching and very, very low volume. No one's jumping on them. You know, just the customer base that's here now is tired. Their wallets are empty and they're just waiting. We've got to bring new people. Be very excited about this marketing campaign. If it truly is millions and millions of items that can get us multiple millions of impressions, we need the smallest percentage of those to help us get successful. So feel good about that's coming. I think he's doing exactly what he should be doing right now. He hired the best lawyers in the world when he was in trouble and needed the SEC off his back. And I'm hoping he's hired the best marketing people in the world. And I have a feeling he has. I don't think he's doing this just on his own, with his own makeup. I know he's self-played, you know, that he's a marketing genius and all that. And he's probably very strong at it. But I have found the people that sell you the products, the people that make the products for you, trust them. Trust those as the marketing guys. They know a heck of a lot better than the business owners do what to do with that product and keep marketing it. So, you know, red candles or not, I think we should be optimistic and excited with the next couple of weeks have to bring in store.
Yeah, I think you made a great point there, Shaka, where you talked about the current user base already owns the product. We already all own PulseX, Hex, and maybe some people kind of DCA in a little bit over time, but for the most part, they own the amount of the product that they were looking to own. So it's not like someone who sells apples and his client base loves apples and they eat the apple and they need a new one every single day. This isn't a depreciating asset that just, you know, dissolves over time. It's here forever. If the person continues to hold their asset, they technically don't need any more. So we need to constantly increase the user base. And I hope this marketing campaign is what does that for PulseChain.
Linda Cook has a question. She says, can you and Zen provide some of the best ways to on-ramp a newbie with fiat? What's your...
I do it the pretty old-fashioned way. I get them to create a Coinbase account. I get them to get Ethereum. I have them bridge to Ethereum or move the funds to the Ethereum blockchain on MetaMask, and I have them use the old-fashioned bridge just because I know how to work it very well. Old dog that doesn't really learn too many new tricks. That's just how I know how to safely get people in. So that's the way I go. I hope some better ways come out in the future. I know there's faster ways. For my friends and family, faster isn't always better, in my opinion. I definitely prefer to push them through the battle-tested ways that I feel I can trust.
Another way you can do, and I use Kraken, so they could get set up with an exchange, get their Ethereum, and then they can swap the Ethereum for USDC on Ethereum, and then with Liberty swap their Ethereum USDC for Pulse USDC, and then swap from Pulse USDC to Pulse. A few more steps, I guess. You can also buy Ethereum with Change Now. I believe changenow.io. I think you can buy Ethereum with a debit card. You know, I wonder, can you even buy PulseChain with a debit card on Change now? I forget. It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't recall. I think that there was something called like on-ramp or something that's on the PulseChain website now where there is an easier way, but I don't know if it works in the United States where that's when I'm doing real life onboards. That's who I'm onboarding. So I have to. I usually use things that are allowed in the United States. I know you could get people to create VPNs and stuff like that, but that starts to even make them feel even more like, whoa, what are we doing here? It's, for me, easiest to just do Coinbase. But
okay.
hey, Chris, did you have something?
Oh, hey boys! I came to make some new friends.
Thanks for coming in.
Cool. I just wanted to say I really appreciate this space. I don't normally hang out in here, and I'm really enjoying the sentiment, the education, the, you know, looking forward to when newbies come in, what sort of a space will we provide? I feel like I've been here for 1 billion years, and
Awesome.
when I first got in, like three or 4 years ago, the spaces were crazy, but there was a lot of education, and people like Papa Bona like really helped me, and it feels like the space has the same sentiment. And yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate that. I know a couple of people in here. I think Daniel's in here and Frank's in here, but I don't think we've ever spoken. So I just wanted to say hello, and yeah, hoping for things to shift. I'm feeling a little tired, you know, as many of us are. So yeah, it was just to show my appreciation. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming up. Yeah, I think you're not the only one. We're all getting a little tired here. We've all been kind of on this journey together for 4 years, 5 years, some a little bit shorter. But for me, it definitely feels like I can see a little bit of light right now, which feels great. I feel like we have a little bit of guidance on like the way we're going to increase the value of the blockchain, right? This marketing strategy that we have right now, I feel like is a great strategy, and it kind of gives us a little bit of guidance, and I'm excited to experience this effort, and, you know, hopefully the effort works very, very well and sets us apart from a lot of the other blockchains out there today. A lot of the other blockchains are, in my opinion, just onboarding from existing community members in crypto or social media and stuff. Like, I think Sol did very well social media wise, getting like somewhat social media influencers to launch tokens or talk about it or get tattoos of it. Where with Richard going in a more traditional way, I think we're going to onboard more traditional people. And in my opinion, more traditional people are a lot longer term mindset people, which we want, right? We want people who are more, let's say, traditional finance investing or real estate investing, because when you invest in traditional or when you invest in real estate, you're not looking at like a 2-month trade like a lot of people within crypto today are. You're looking at someone that like wants to bring in a decent chunk of value, maybe not a crazy amount, but let's say 10K, and they're willing to actually let that 10K play out like multi-cycle. They're like, hey, I'm going to put this here, and let's say in 5-10 years, let's see what this actually turns into. And that's the kind of people we want to actually onboard into PulseChain and educate on what this is. Not someone that is in Solana and is willing to bring 10K over here real quick, waits for a 3x, and then just leaves with all of that value and is mad that we keep moving.
It's great to hear. I did a post today. It was a little controversial, and I got a lot of opinions from it. And it was actually good to hear, I think it was Shaka, I think that's your name, speak about, you know, stuff that we don't know about, like physical brand recognition. I mean, I don't know anything about marketing. So, you know, part of me was like, oh, is everyone going to get a taser or a keychain, and how does that actually work? And it's just good to hear you speak Mainly, I think it just gives us a little bit of hope. I think a lot of us are just so tired. So I just wanted to come in and say, even if it gives me a little hope and a different perspective, like to understand there is a potential for this to move the needle, you know? So I appreciate perspectives. And yeah, I tend to come into the spaces when I'm either doing great or not doing so great. So thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in. We do these every Saturday and Monday. So, and Mondays are at night. I'm in the United States, so night my time, and then Saturdays are morning this time every single week. So please keep coming in throughout the, throughout the bull market and throughout next bear.
That's why I've missed you. Our time, I think we are, depending on your time zone, Africa's a weird time zone. We're sort of on the London time zone or Paris time zone. So maybe that's why I've missed these spaces. But yeah, thank you for being just reasonable men. There's a lot of unreasonable men in PulseChain.
Very, very true.
I appreciate no shouting and going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you were kind of bringing up, I'd love to hear what Shaka's still there. Shaka, you've done in your businesses, you don't have to get into the details of your business, but I believe you've done a lot of different style marketing. And maybe you can kind of give some feedback of what's been successful for you in the past and like how with, I don't know, maybe you have given away keychains or flashlights and stuff like that and what the impression rate on that was, or how you converted those people into actual being clients or customers after you did those marketing strategies.
Sure. My industry is completely different than the crypto industry, the tech industry. So the customer base is different, but I'd say there's two types of marketing. One is when you're kind of marketing to your existing customer base, and those are more thank you gifts. Those are more gifts to keep a smile on their face and keep them happy, and that's stuff like the keychains or ball caps or hard hat stickers or things of that nature. That's what customer base really likes. They like to come in and get a new cap or a t-shirt, and that promotes the brand and other people see it, and that's great. But the reality is those marketing pieces are designed to keep your current customer base happy and excited. The other side of marketing is going after the new customers, and that's always harder, or at least in my industry it is. I have tried a lot of things, and I can tell you what doesn't work are billboards. I mean, I think billboards are absolute trash.
Yep.
Anyone that tries to sell me billboards, the first thing I tell them is to name 3 billboards that they saw on their way to work or on the way to my office, and no one ever can.
Yep.
People just don't even look at them hardly. Just my opinion. But radio ads at the time, worked. They don't work anymore. Most people are listening to Spotify and those things, so you got to constantly be adapting. For me, giveaways, I've given away a few ATVs, 4-wheelers, things like that. Bringing new customers into my locations to have to register to win those. And then once they're in, they got to kind of see your product list. And now you're capturing their email address. You're capturing their contact information. And then you can start kind of hitting them with a few emails. And so, yeah, a lot unsubscribe. But that's just how it goes. You can't take it personally. Maybe they just came in and tried to win an ATV. But you get a few, and I would put the emphasis on that's what matters. The percentages are very, very low unless you can get very good mailing lists or very specific target audience lists. If you're going just to the general public, or you're going just based on demographics, like, hey, we're looking at 25 to 35-year-old males or whatever it may be, the percentages are very low, but that's when volume matters. 1% of 10 million is still a ton of new customers. So how efficiently can you pay for 10 million impressions to get those 1% customers? That's the game. And again, if it comes to crypto and this and that, I would rely on the experts. Like I said earlier, Richard hired the best lawyers in the country. I would hope he hired the best marketing people in the country to tell them, how do we get new customers on chain? How do we get information? How do we go after current crypto people? Is that the easier pull? Do we find customer lists and identification of current crypto people, and we want them because they're already kind of familiar with crypto and we just want to steal them? Or are we looking for people that know nothing about crypto and we want to onboard them? Again, now that's two complete marketing pieces. Both have to be treated completely differently. So I don't know what Richard's list is going to look like. I don't know who he's targeting. But that's all the stuff that's important, much more than what the product is. It's how you pick the people, how you pick the eyeballs that the stuff is going to get in front of. If Richard just sent out a bunch of really cool PulseChain little trinkets, I'm sure everyone would love a bobblehead of Richard Hart, right? But only people that are in PulseChain and current customers want that bobblehead. So it really doesn't do us any good other than thanking his current customers and keeping them excited. We need to be on a path to bringing new customers on the chain, new money onto chain, new eyeballs on the chain. And that's what I hope all this marketing is pointed at.
Yeah, hopefully, one thing that I think hasn't happened in a while is, like you were talking about at the beginning, is the existing customers. With price being so low, I think the existing customers on this chain, the existing community members on this chain, have kind of stopped onboarding themselves. Because, if you onboarded people, let's say around a 4-cent hex, which was already at a pretty big discount, but then it went far below a penny, that person you onboarded obviously probably came back to you and said, like, hey, what the heck, man? Like, I put 10 grand into this, now it's worth 2, especially if they don't fully understand crypto. So a lot of these people that are here and are legitimate community members and customers of Richard have kind of even stopped their onboarding process. So the existing customers kind of have stopped, putting in a lot of work there. Some are still working really, really hard, but I think a lot of people have kind of stopped. But I do think the new customer or the existing customer base does start kind of even getting back to work as prices start going back up, and they can actually show new users in real life, like, hey, look at this product that I'm in is now up 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x. And this is kind of what happened last cycle with Hex, is the extreme amount of marketing from the community itself, the existing customers, came when the green candle started to come. So I do think even like you said, almost a little bit of price appreciation is on PulseChain is almost like that T-shirt or that ball cap that you were talking about, taking care of your existing customer base, making sure they're still happy and they're liking the product, because then they might go and tell a buddy or a friend if they're feeling good about who they're using.
100%.
So,
Can I ask Shopper a question? I'm curious about something. From your marketing experience, if you didn't know anything about crypto and you received something and you were curious, because they might not even know what a chart looks like, do we have to see sort of progress, i.e. green candles, in order for them to buy in? Or do you think there's a scenario where someone would just put money in, and because it's tricky if you're new, right? Do you think we have to see some form of increase in order to get more uptake from the marketing campaign?
100% we do. To put it in my industry's words, like, if we release a new machine, product line, and the current customers are complaining about it, it's breaking, it's down a lot, it doesn't matter how many cool little gadgets we send out saying, come look at our new actuators online or whatever it may be, they're not going to buy it. Instead, when they're getting a new one, and hey, here's this new machine we come out, and all of a sudden they do a little bit of research themselves, and people are doing YouTube videos on it. People are excited, and they're saying this is the coolest thing. It's helping them. They're becoming more productive. People jump in. And I think it's going to be the same. We have to have some of the green because the product has to look good and attractive. It's still a product. Pulse, PulseX Inc., X, pTGC, UFO, they're all products. And the products have to look good and be attractive for people to want to buy them and want to get into them. If it were me, again, it comes down to what customer base are we targeting? And if it were me, I would be targeting existing crypto people that are just outside of PulseChain. I think it's much harder to get non-crypto people in. Leave that to Bitcoin. Leave that to Ethereum. Let them go after you've never had done crypto in your life? Come buy some Bitcoin. I think that's the key. I think if Richard is somehow able to target, Polygon people or Matic people or so on, whatever it may be, and target people that are already in crypto, and then show them some green and say, here's why you should come play on our chain a little bit, and here's some incentive to come play on our chain. Once we kind of get them in the chain, they will spend more money. We're all guilty of it. I don't get on any other chains except here and there a little bit because it's a pain. So I just stay on PulseChain.
Mm-hmm.
But once someone gets on the chain, I think then they're going to do a little more research. They're going to get on YouTube. They're going to start finding banana. I mean, this biggest secret weapon of pTGC and UFO, other than the fantastic code, is the fact that guys like the founder and Banana show up every single week, multiple times a week, even when there's nothing to talk about. No other community is doing that. This community is going to be ready for the push. This community keeps educating. This community keeps getting on here. Spaces twice a week, VCs twice. No one else has a founder that is given as much access as this guy. Nowhere, not even close.
Yep.
So all the pieces there are in place. We've got to just bring the eyeballs and the people onto it. And
Can I ask another thing? As you were saying that, it was like, I mean, I'm only active on X, right? I don't do any TikTok or Instagram, and I don't know. My assumption is that Richard would know this. I don't think we're big on TikTok, actually, or Instagram specifically, or even maybe YouTube. So would he also, I don't think they're educating anywhere else but here, but a lot of people aren't on X. So, like, how does that work? I've got TikTok and Instagram on my phone. I see this thing and that's where I go. But actually there's a lot of value on X. That's where I've got my education from.
Well, when it comes to marketing, it's why you got to hit them all. Because just as you're mainly an X person, I know plenty of people that won't even log into X and they only use YouTube, or many people that only use YouTube, but they only like TikTok, whatever it may be. So you just got to kind of hit them all. But you can't. No company can. I don't care how much money Richard has. We can't get in front of every single eyeball. So you just got to kind of pick your poison. And to me, that would be figuring out how to get in front of an audience that's already somewhat into crypto, and just going after them. If I'm selling to contractors and, heavy equipment and all this stuff nationwide, like, I don't need to advertise to restaurants, movie theaters, retail centers, etc. I want a very specific audience. And there's new customers that may be becoming a contractor, but man, they're so hard to find. Yeah. I'm not going after them. I'm going after the people that are already in that industry.
Interesting. Do you think, and this will be my last comment, I'm sure other people want to speak. Do you think that we can make, I don't want to say an assumption because it's never great to assume, but because these boxes are going out and this material is going out now, Richard must have a plan to move the numbers. Otherwise, it would be a complete loss leader. can we make that sort of assumption? Like the numbers have to go up because the marketing material is going out, or is that?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to make assumptions, but I can say I think Richard's very intelligent, very bright, and knows what he's doing. So I would assume there is some sort of plan to have some green. We can't have a week like we just did where every RH core is down 20% or more in the last 7 days as people are getting them. Yeah, I think that would kind of sting a little bit, but Richard's no dummy. I wouldn't be surprised if the next couple of weeks start to move up, but that's just guessing.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. You can drop me down. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for jumping up. Interestingly, we are green right now. PulseChain is up 4%.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? God of Destruction asks a question. If I choose to lock up my coins for 2 years versus locking them up for 6 months, will I still earn the same amount of profit if I choose to not unlock the 6-month coins and hold for 2 years? Do you follow that question? I think I do.
I believe so. Yeah. So how pTGC locking works is there's tiers, and the tiers are 1 through 10 based on the amount of years you lock. So if you lock between 90 days and 1 year, you're in tier 1. If you lock between 9 years and 10 years, you're in tier 10. So the longer you encode, say you're going to be within the system via your locking tier, the more APY or percentage of your rewards you receive. So for an example, if you only locked for the 6 months, but you still remained locked for 2 years, you will only earn for the tier 1, the 6 months. Just because you remained in the system longer doesn't automatically jump you up tiers. You have to actually say you're going to be in that tier from the beginning. The cool thing about pTGC is you don't actually have to close your lock down when your time has became fulfilled. It's then a liquid lock, as we call it, and you will continue to earn forever. But you will only earn based on the tier that you agreed on from when you entered that lock. So for an example, when you are in tier 1, you are earning 55% of your rewards. The other 45% go to the debt address when you claim those locking rewards. This doesn't include the rewards you receive for just holding and the rewards that you receive from just staking. These rewards are completely separate. When you claim those or when those drip into your wallets, you get 100% of your share. What I'm talking about here is just your locking rewards. Just your locking rewards are completely separate than your holding and staking rewards. Your locking rewards, if you're in tier 1, you get 55%, and then when you claim, you get 55% of them, and the debt address gets 45% of them. If you go to tier 2, you get 60% of them, the debt address gets 40% of them. If you go to tier 3, you get 65, the debt address gets 35. It goes up in increments of 5% based on every single year, up to 10 years. But if you only agree to 2 years and you stay for 5, you will continue to earn in the tier that you agreed on per code, and you will earn rewards for as long as you continue locking. But just because you went up in tiers on time frame, if you didn't agree to that, you do not earn in the new tiers. I hope that answered the question properly.
He's very happy with the answer.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, God of Destruction. I will be presenting the Grays currencies from start to finish, basically tomorrow on my channel. I do it twice a week. Tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Pacific on Sunday. Jump in.
Yeah, and I want to kind of vouch for that. Banana, when he's going through this, he's doing it all on YouTube, so he's actually bringing up the DApp in front of you I think he even has a test wallet in there, if I'm not correct.
That's correct.
So yeah, so he's able to show you not only all the buttons and show you what to click, because it is a new product to a lot of people, and people want help navigating new products. Obviously, when navigating anything new, it helps to have a guide. Banana's kind of put himself out there as the guide for navigating pTGC's ecosystem, and luckily with YouTube, he can do it visually instead of me just rambling and losing track and confusing people. So thank you for that, Banana. But he also even has some wallets there as his like tester wallets to help show people what these things look like when you have done a stake. And you can actually see on his DApp, the rewards coming in from locking, the rewards coming in from staking, the rewards coming in from holding. So you can actually see what this stuff looks like once you are in the system as well. Because anyone can look at the DApp now and it's kind of all plain because they're not logged in, they're not connected. But if you want to see what it looks like once you are connected, once you are staked, once you are locked, what you're kind of earning based on those, keep in mind, pTGC is a deflationary asset. There's no inflation, no supplies ever coming out in the future. Every single transaction pays you APY. Every single transaction adds LP, and every single transaction buys and pays you APY, buys and burns supply, and adds LP. And none of this comes from inflation of the product. It comes from value generation from the market movement. It comes from the ability that we have to generate that revenue and put that revenue back into the ecosystem. And he can go through all that visually for you, and it's very, very helpful for new users. So I definitely think when new users start coming into PulseChain, and a lot of these new users will find tons of value in Richard's products, but we do believe some users have a portion of their portfolio that they want to find other great alt tokens that aren't RH stickers, and we want to educate them on pTGC and UFO. And Banana's kind of obviously been a great member of the community to educate people how to navigate this protocol via that DApp. And it's all visual on YouTube 2 times a week. Pretty much never misses a day. So thank you for doing that, Banana.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I wish I had something like that when I came into Hex. So it's all good. It's all part of staging ourselves for what we want to be ready when they come. That's part of the work.
Yeah, we're getting better every day at it.
Yeah.
We almost need to watch. I'm sure it was fine, but I'm sure you even feel better than like the first one of those you did compared to now. Now you probably just like run through it like it's the back of your hand.
Yes. Yeah, I have noticed some improvement. Yeah. It's amazing how when you work at something, you can improve. I mean, it just makes sense. But when you start out, it sure doesn't. It feels very uncomfortable. You feel very inadequate. But over time, you just kind of you grow into the role. I imagine you didn't feel adequate as a cryptocurrency founder. The first time you went public on Spaces or wherever it was, I'm sure you were absolutely nervous. Were you not?
Yeah, definitely nervous. I, am not really much of a public speaker. I'm more just very passionate about these products, and luckily I get to just talk about what they do and how they, how they work, and the product kind of just sells itself because it's a product that a lot of people have been looking for. That's why I technically had to create it, because I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. So a lot of my speaking, luckily, is just me trying to just educate people on the product, which makes it very easy for me because I'm obsessed about this idea for like 4 years now. So it's kind of just talking about it. But 100%, going on Spaces, talking to random people on the internet is definitely not the easiest task in the world, especially for people who aren't public speakers.
Yeah, you and I are both, I think, rather quiet individuals. But when you have something that it's not a meme coin, it has, these 2 tokens. They have tokenomics that have never been done before, that are presumably the the checkmate of the entire chain, they need to be talked about, and they need to be highlighted, and people need to be educated about it. Even if you don't feel adequately equipped to fulfill that role, you just step up and do it. And they need to go on TikTok, Rolando.
Yeah, I think TikTok for PulseChain in general, I'm sure there will be a lot of TikToking coming out when price appreciation starts to happen. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a TikTok, so I'm not like, but my wife has a TikTok. I kind of see some of the stuff on there. But it seems like a lot of it, like, if green candles are happening on PulseChain, I bet you a bunch of random TikTokers pop up out of nowhere talking about the gains they're making and stuff like that.
Rolando says we really need a quality Web3 YouTube type streaming service that would onboard the masses. Do you know anything about that? I've never heard of such a thing.
I do not know anything about that.
All right. PM me about that, Rolando, would you?
Again, it's just about volume. It's, it's trying everything, get as many touches as you can. I mean, you look back at the beginning of pTGC, I had never heard of it. I didn't know the founder. I was a Zen guy. I burned Zen for a product that got me some free pTGC. And that made me look at pTGC. Again, I was Zen. I had nothing to do with pTGC. And that was his form of marketing, right? They did an airdrop. That is a form of marketing. I get this Zen in my wallet. This pTGC in my wallet. I'm like, well, what is this? I look at it. I go there, got on a Spaces call they were doing back in the day. Looked at the tokenomics, started to kind of understand. I didn't understand liquidity webs. I didn't understand AMM bots, none of that. I got educated on that by the founder. And that's when I was like, this product's fantastic. And since then, I've put in a lot of money into that. So that one marketing piece that maybe brought me in, not to sound whatever, I'm just using an example, but like brought me in may have been worth it just for that. So sometimes, even if we think TikTok is kind of jokey or this or that, we may get that one new Mando that comes in.
Yep.
And all of a sudden then just educates and brings all these people in and just really does a good job educating people on the product. The more volume, and that's, again, not to beat a dead horse, but I'm so excited about Richard's marketing campaign because from what I'm hearing, it seems like it's volume based. The more eyeballs we get, you never know which new guy we get. Do we get another real Godwell in, another Firewell in? I mean, we just don't know. So volume's key. Let's try everything.
Yep.
%. There's going to definitely be a lot of onboards that are smaller who feel like somewhat insignificant, which they're not, because you have no idea who that person knows, or you have no idea when that mailer, gift, the digital gift or whatever it is, hits the doorstep of someone who has actually been searching their whole entire life for products like this. Again, like for me, I was searching through multiple blockchains, throughout multiple industries, through traditional finance and real estate, through crypto, and I was looking for products that technically didn't even exist. Luckily, I ran across Richard, and I loved the idea of actual, real world financial instruments that we've seen been very successful in real life for hundreds of years here on blockchain. And then I obviously started working on the creation of pTGC and UFO that take a lot of other things into it. But there's a lot of people who have yet to even go down the rabbit hole of DeFi, right? And they're looking for products like this, places where they can store value or even start storing value to either start giving them financial freedom, or sometimes it's already financially free people, but just want a place to store their value that is respected better than a lot of the other places that exist today. Like one of my favorite examples is in a lot of traditional finance places, if they're paying 10% a year, but inflation's at 10%, you pretty much are making nothing every single year. So what's the even point of storing your value anymore? Just to hedge yourself against the inflation of the dollar? Like, yeah, that's obviously better than losing against the inflation, but there is better things out there. Bitcoin and Ethereum are great examples of them. People who put their value in Bitcoin and Ethereum in the first 2 years obviously did very, very well for themselves, and probably still are doing well for themselves, for the companies, and everyone's storing value in them today. But there is some undervalued things like pTGC, UFO, PulseChain, PEX, PulseX that I think are going to do very well for people. They just don't know they exist yet. And by Richard doing this massive marketing campaign, at least it's giving us as the PulseChain community the chance to get in front of these people that probably would never have the chance to see these products if Richard didn't do this, mail campaign.
Well, what else is going on, guys? Do we need to think about closing it down?
I got a quick question for you guys.
Yeah, man.
I know, and thanks for what you guys do, man. The fact that you guys are so consistent with these, spaces that you do, and Prairie, you do these videos like a couple times a week, and had it not been for that, it would have taken me a long time to really understand the whole ecosystem. So thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you so much, man.
My question is actually a little bit off topic. And since we're in true DeFi, a lot of people underestimate, in my opinion, IPFS. I went down the IPFS rabbit hole. I used AI and all these other kind of facets of it. And it's such a forward-thinking step that most people don't realize that, all the nodes that are running PulseChain are all decentralized, like truly decentralized. And most people in DeFi don't even think about that. And so my question is actually, I know that you guys, removed your liquidity with PDI. Is that correct? All of it, 100%?
That is not correct.
Okay, so some of it is burnt?
Yes, so pTGC has some burnt liquidity with PDI, and also some tokens that are heavily connected to PDI.
Okay.
And then UFO has some community members that still provide some liquidity with PDI, but that is removable at any point by those specific community members if they feel it is necessary.
Okay.
But that's all user based.
Gotcha. No, that's totally cool. So now I have a personal off the radar question. Does everybody in pTGC have a just in case bag?
Of what?
Of PDI.
I sold all my PDI much higher.
Yeah, personally, myself, I have a just in case bag. If that thing pegs to $1, I'd probably rotate that over to pTGC, because then we know the price that ends at. If that scenario is true, I was lucky enough to get into PDI very, very early, but not as early as some people. Obviously, some people got it for very cheap.
Right.
But we, as an ecosystem, as the pTGC ecosystem, we're definitely on, a earlier stage of that. So that's why our ecosystem had so much LP with PDI, because we bonded to it very early, and PDI went on a massive move up. PDI is still currently a lot higher than when we bonded with PDI, which helped with the growth. It also helps with the volume of pTGC, which helps with the revenue generation. Still helping to this day, even with all the negative things going around it. If it's just a meme coin, it's still a great producer for us.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I did de-risk from it when Richard came out and said, like, hey, the pool, just listening to the founder of the chain, I did de-risk. We did de-risk pTGC from it.
Right.
That was my personal move with it, was just de-risking. And then that was the decision that we made as a pTGC community. We just made the decision, hey, we have some burnt liquidity with it. This will be enough if PDI is a successful situation, if that's a success from just being a meme coin, or if that's a success of the community just believing in it and creating things that help it be successful, or if there is some big psyop thing going on, it doesn't really matter. Just it being successful, we have enough liquidity with it now that we will be heavily successful by the success of that asset, along with the success of PulseX and Pulse, right? This is the power of the liquidity web, the diversification in one product. You know, by just holding pTGC, you're holding a lot of the blue chips on chain. If one of those wins, it helps us win. But also de-risking us enough, and I just did this personally as well, just de-risking myself enough to where if this goes to zero, we are not drastically affected by that. And that's what I did personally too. I said, hey, I'm just going to take these chips off the table. I'll leave this back here. If that happens, sweet, I score. If it doesn't happen, I don't lose sleep over it. So personally, I don't really like even talking about my personal bags too much about other products.
Right.
I try to specifically only talk about pTGC and UFO and educate on that. But that is how the pTGC as a whole ecosystem kind of went about, is we just de-risked ourselves from it because we were so heavily in it just due to the narrative of PPOP having value because there are such good value generation sources. But then as new information came out, we didn't have to, but in my opinion, it was still a good decision to de-risk in the situation.
So just kind of on top of that and kind of circling back to the whole us being on IPFS and no other cryptos out there that are on there. So technically right now, when I asked AI, I asked five or six different AIs, Gemini, GPT, Perplexity, OpenAI, and Grok as well too. And all of them came back with the same thing, that PulseChain is the most decentralized crypto products that are out there. And so Richard's ethos is decentralized everything, no middlemen, no central party risk. And so the reason why I ask on the personal level about PDI is I think that as much FUD has been going around about that, that everyone's kind of got this just in case bag of whatever the amount is for them. But then it fits with the ethos of what pTGC and UFO are doing, because a lot of exchanges will probably not list pTGC and UFO because of the tax, correct?
I agree with that statement, yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of where I was circling back with the whole thing. And I just wanted to kind of hear it from your mouth because, I've been following a lot of your calls for quite some time, and I really, really appreciate how much effort you guys put into just educating people. But I think one thing that we're all lacking is we're not really touching a lot on IPFS. And I think that's kind of the next wave of education for people.
So real quick, you might not know this. On the new website, I'm working on a new website for pTGC right now that has a lot more stats. In this new website, there's going to be IPFS built into it for the pTGC dApps.
Excellent. I just wanted to mention that, and again, I wanted to thank you guys. I'm a long-term holder. I mean, not super long-term, but I'm in profit, and I've never sold a token, and I'm only buying more. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the amazing gains that are coming. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, and then on the idea of exchanges picking it up, if PulseChain gets the adoption, if pTGC does mechanically what we've been doing for the last 2 years, if it just performs remotely as it's been doing, there is possibilities of it getting picked up by exchanges, but they're going to have to buy it.
Right.
They're going to have to increase the value of our tokens. I actually really like the idea of even Hex and PulseX not being given to exchanges. Like if they want to list it, I strongly believe they need to buy it, because by keeping especially PRC20s like pTGC and UFO and PulseX and Hex on chain, it makes it to where users actually have to come to PulseChain to expose themselves to these products. Right. And with them being on PulseChain, people don't realize this, but they have to get into PulseChain first. Right. So if a big player wants to expose themselves to pTGC, let's say they want to come in with $2 million, right? And they're coming from outside of PulseChain, and they're saying, hey, this is a product I've been looking for. I like the fact that it generates revenue off of no human interaction. It just makes money off of the market moving up and down. It's deflationary. It has built-in APY. It's got more liquidity than pretty much every token on in blockchain. This is, further on when PulseChain, let's say, revalues 10x or something. We're sitting on $200 million in liquidity. It's got a lot of features I believe big players will be looking for.
Right.
And let's say someone wants to come in with 2 mil.
Right.
Well, to expose themselves to pTGC, they have to come to PulseChain first.
Right.
So they have to increase the value of PulseChain, which then increases the value of everythx on PulseChain, because if PLS moves up, it via Hart's law, it drags everything else up. So by us remaining, by Hex remaining, by PulseX remaining, by pTGC and UFO remaining on chain, it's actually making everything on chain more successful because of us all being bonded to Pulse. But if we have, let's say, large players just start giving away Hex to exchanges or PulseX to exchanges, well, now users don't actually have to come into PulseChain to access those products. Right. And I do think that will happen eventually, but let's make them buy it. Let's make them at least have to increase the value of the assets to do that, which then, increases the value of the assets anyways.
But then we already did it. We did it multiple times. The last time we did it was with MEXC. They took all the Pulse that the community gave to the exchange and just stole it and then delisted us.
Yeah, I think we don't need it. I think if anything, Pulse just to make it easier, but I don't think we should even need to give it to them. I think as a community, as we market, as we grow, as volume increases, because exchanges make money off of volume, there isn't a lot of volume here right now. It doesn't look like a product worth them listing. But if prices start increasing, and if there's a lot of volume and users over here on chain, they're going to list it because they make money off of volume. They're not in the game of speculating on underpriced assets. They're in the game of listing assets that have tons of volume because they generate revenue off of volume, very similar to us, right? We generate revenue off of volume, very similar to exchanges. This is the model that pTGC picked up because exchanges have been super successful in the last 10 years, and we kind of are following that model. Hey, they make money off of the volatility and volume of market. We make money, instead of paying a company, we're paying our holders in the price of the token. But yeah, I believe just with the success of PulseChain, they will over time pick us up, and they'll even buy it.
Cool. Thank you, Zen. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming up.
No worries.
Does anyone have anything else? Any other questions? We've been going for 2.5 hours now. It is Saturday, so out of respect for everyone's time and everyone getting to hang out with their families, I kind of will do last call on questions, last call on comments or conversations, and then we'll shut it down.
I got some kind of funny.
Shoot.
I told you it was my birthday. It's my birthday today. My mom told me that I was born at 5:55 p.m. I didn't know that.
Wow.
So
Happy
I'm
birthday.
really a 555er guy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of funny, just being, the whole 5555 thing.
Yeah, and you're 55 years old today. Happy birthday.
No, not 55.
Armando.
Dude. No, don't try to put me there. Definitely not that. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Just a side note. Just a side note. I think though that Grace was talking about loss leader and whatnot. A loss leader in the corporate world is something that you put out there and you don't care about the loss of it, right? Because it'll bring in new users, right? I personally think that this marketing campaign is massive, and I think that everything that Richard's doing is very calculated and time calculated strategically. And it is a very real marketing campaign, and it's gonna go out and it's gonna last a good while, and it's gonna bring in eyeballs, and it is hitting, in quotes, a target market, which is exactly what a professional marketing campaign is designed to do.
Yep.
If you have amazing, beautiful tasting cigars, you're going to market to people who have already shown that they like to smoke cigars. You're not going to go and try to market those to people who have never smoked cigars, right? So you want to go after your target market. And there's ways to do that. You generate lists of people that have shown interest in the things that you're selling. But I also think that there's a much broader strategy that goes along with what is being shown on X for the marketing campaign. And I think that people really have no idea how broad that actual strategy is when it actually all rolls out. But it is interesting how bearish people are, knowing that that's there. And I think it's just indicative of the time that we're in. You know, people are very tired, right? And it's just indicative of the washout and that grueling delayed gratification piece. It's very real. So we'll have to see, but I think that there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. There's a lot of activity happening right now behind the scenes, and real things are happening, like in the real world, in IRL, not just fake stuff. Like real world stuff is happening, and that's what you want to see, you know. So, but I think the time's coming, guys. Oh, one last thing. I think right now the system is generating about 1 billion pulse a week, give or take, which is, you know, we've seen the system generate much, much, much more than that and much, much less than that. The system is doing well. And at 100x from here, that's about $1 million a week at very low levels. So if we went up 100x from here, you wouldn't be at these levels. In terms of like generating a billion pulse a week, because the price would be much higher. But in USD value, you'd be generating many, many, many more, much more dollar value. So what I'm saying is right now the system is generating billions and billions of PulseChain, have not been doing any buy and burns or anything like that, just accumulating PulseChain, letting anybody who doesn't value this ecosystem properly, letting them out. Go ahead, let them out, because when the revaluation does take place, it's a lot less people that have those tokens in their hands, and the system's just ready to buy it out at lower valuations. If you don't want the tokens, and if you don't believe in the PulseChain ecosystem, and then broader, the things built on top of it, like the Grace ecosystem, that's fine, but you are going to see, I think personally, and it's not financial advice, I think you're going to see a massive revaluation of PulseChain by the end of this year. And I do not believe that Richard Hart has done everything that he's done to allow PulseChain to fail. I just don't believe that about the man.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the best ecosystem built on PulseChain is the Grace currency ecosystem. And I don't see anything else from a corporate standpoint, like from an actual investor standpoint. Right now, guys, it's complete bullshit on PulseChain. It just is. If you're super active on PulseChain, you're getting cut up. You're getting cut up massively, because you're pumped on tiring or whatever the hell you're doing. There's just not enough economic energy now. So to me, it's just better to just take a break. It's just better to take a break, because the only alternative is you pressing a swap button into something and you just hope with a wish and a prayer that something goes up. But the truth is, look at what's happening, right? So take a step back, look at the environment, look at how much economic energy is actually able to do anything. Liberty Swap gave a little bit of an energetic bump there, and then the whole PDI thing and this, that, and the other thing. But you're better off right now really just holding on to your cores, taking a break. This is just my opinion, taking a break, holding pTGC and UFO, holding your conviction plays, your value plays, things that have real value. things that have real mechanics, things that are real, than cutting yourself up and creating 50 million tax events and all these different things for yourself prior to real economic energy showing up on chain, when you can actually play the casino and actually make much better money, because the valuations of the tokens can go up much faster, much higher, and there's more people on chain. Right now, it's just not a good environment to be doing stuff. So I see a lot of people that aren't valuing this ecosystem properly, which is fine, because those people are leaving. But people are built. You know, I think today 6,220 holders. I think you know what it is, Prairie. I think it was like a 16,100 a week and a half ago.
Yep.
So there's another 120 users that came aboard. The system's growing in holders, even though it's such an unstable environment. And right now it's just stacking billions and billions and billions of PulseChain, ready for a new kind of an energetic push. So I'm looking forward to that. I just want to say, you know, a lot of you guys have been here with us from the beginning. Just know where you're at. You know, I always say, know what you own, why you own, and when you own it. The when you own it is a really important part. If you don't know when you own something and the why you own something, sometimes you got to take a step back and ask yourself, why do I own this? And when do I own it? Right now, the when do I own it is the most important question out of the three. That's all I got.
Yeah, awesome. And just to kind of touch on where we are at PulseChain, like I still think where we are at PulseChain is a very unique and awesome opportunity for people who have just been kind of hanging out on PulseChain looking for the good sustainable products, because if PulseChain was a lot higher right now, pTGC and UFO would be a lot higher. So what it's constantly giving is it's actually giving community members on PulseChain or new people on other blockchain that kind of have their radar out to PulseChain an opportunity to get into pTGC and UFO while prices are still cheap. Because very quickly, if PulseChain starts to move, pTGC starts to move, if new value actually starts flowing into PulseChain, which keep in mind it hasn't flown in for the last 2 years. There's no new value here pretty much. But if this new value starts coming in, the price to get a decent sized position of pTGC and UFO could go up very, very quickly. And the percentage of supply that you own is your percentage of the APY, which increases your passive income without touching your initial. Could also increase your overall holding if you get in before, you know, a big move up or so on and so forth. So there is opportunities in front of us right now with good sustainable systems. I think there's also opportunities in Richard's assets. I think a lot of people are just tapped out on DCAing, but for anyone who isn't exposed to pTGC and UFO yet, look at the mechanics, look at the system, look at the charts, look at the community, look at the math and mechanics behind the product. And we kind of been saying like just in case bag, you know, just in case bag exposes yourself to the product without having to leverage too much. We're a community that's here. We're a community that's working. We're a community that's building. At least if you have a just in case bag, you don't have to be kind of grumpy about us being successful. I do plan on us being successful. We've already been successful. I plan on us being here for as long as PulseChain. Legitimately, we have to be here as long as PulseChain is. We have so much liquidity burnt with RH tickers at this point, over millions of dollars, literally bought and burnt of Richard's products, connecting us to Richard's products forever. This is decentralized code. Code is renounced. Nothing anyone could do about it. This code and this machine and this map is going to function on chain for as long as the chain exists. Ethereum, Vitalik talks about how the goal of Ethereum is to last as longer as Vitalik himself. Richard pretty much forked Ethereum, so that tells me that PulseChain should last as long as Ethereum lasts. And, you know, it's one of the most decentralized chains, if not the most decentralized chains out there. It's a great place for a product like pTGC and UFO to exist. the upside potential is massive by having a product built like this on an extremely undervalued blockchain, with all the other features we obviously ranted about earlier. Make it a very desirable product for people to store value in, especially in the future when the revaluation and adoption happens for PulseChain. So if anyone has any questions or comments or wants to have a private conversation on it, feel free to reach out to me. Mando also takes calls. Banana also takes calls. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. Real quick before we go, does anyone else have anything? If not, we're going to be shutting it down. All
Go
right.
get that pickleball, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna go play pickleball or go to the beach. I don't know yet. It's pretty nice out here in San Diego area right now. So
Yeah, I'm in Santa Barbara right now. It's just freaking gorgeous, man.
yeah, I'm
Gorgeous.
trying to get what's left of this summer and enjoy it before it gets cold again. I know Banana's shaking his
You
head.
live in
I know. That's what I was
California,
gonna
man.
say. I know, I was gonna say Banana's shaking his head at me like leave me cold, but
Yeah.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's like you're down there. It's like 78 degrees. He's like, yeah, it's kind of cold, dude. It's freaking perfect weather out, sun shining. Going down to the beach to play some pickleball on the coast. Gotta love it. Who knows? Right on, man. I see K for K in here, man. Just a shout out to K for K.
Oh,
See you
good.
still here kicking it with us, brother. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Shout
everybody
out to
that's been
K4K.
showing up. Yeah, it's everybody that's been showing up.
He was really someone who took a second to look into pTGC and give it a chance in the very early days or somewhat early days, and I really appreciate it. It meant a lot to me. So shout out to you, K4K. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Zen, the Grays community has been a cornerstone on PulseChain. Has been a solid rock on PulseChain that shows up every week. Come rain, come shine, come earthquakes, come tsunamis. And there's just not a lot of communities out there that are doing that have done that, that are willing to do that, showing up when it's been really, really hard. And there's something to be said about that. There's something here we've got, and the community's great. We've got, in my opinion, we've got the best founder outside of RH in Zen. $123 million market cap. PulseChain's on its ass. 16,220 holders. It's a great, great time to learn about the Grays currency. And so if you have any questions for the people recording, listening to this, you can DM me personally. I do take calls over X or Telegram, and I can go through the system with you, explain to you any questions you have. It's not a sales pitch whatsoever. It's top tier level, just conversation. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And outside of that, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. See you guys.
See you guys. All right, that's it. That was fun. That was fun. Did you guys see this over here? I have to, we should end on this. So you guys have maybe seen me building this, but look, 800,000 mailers a week or 400,000, whatever it is, with a 3% response rate, 24,000 or 12,000 new users per week. If they only inject $1,000 each, that's about, $24 million injected into PulseChain, which would move the price 12.3x impact on pTGC. If pTGC moves 10x, it'd be 123x on pTGC, 123x. UFO would be the same number of X's, would be 0.003. And then after 6 months, this is a 6-month campaign, right? Well, that's my thoughts, because they have so much that they got to They could do it all in 1 week, and then we have this right here in 1 week, 4,000x on Pulse, which would be a 40,000x on pTGC, $17. But is it going to be a 3.5? Is it going to be a 3% response rate? How much are people going to inject? Doesn't account for any cell pressure. There's a lot of variables in there that could change. But if we're 90% wrong and the outcome is $17 pTGC, we're 90% off, that's $1.70 pTGC. Yo. All right, guys. Thank you, Polygon, for showing up. Have a good weekend, guys. I might go play some pickleball myself. What are you guys doing this weekend? What are you guys doing? It's holiday weekend. Go spend some time with your friends, your family. Go get refreshed. Let's have a good week next week. We're green a little bit today, so maybe we'll have and they're right. I think that we should have green candles when people come. That would be the best scenario. So let's have some green candles this week and get ready for them by getting refreshed today. All right, guys. See y'all later. Bye.